Welcome to episode 7 of the EFIS podcast, the Ledge Sports MLB podcast. I'm sitting in for Justin Ledger, our usual host. I'm Zach Hummel, and I'm joined by Nate Brown for his podcast debut. What's going on, Nate?
How's it going?
Pretty good. So, lots happening in baseball. We're reaching the All-Star break. We got the All-Star game on Tuesday, Home Run Derby Monday. Unfortunately, my campaign to get Trevor Story in the All-Star game failed. I think he came in third place in the NL.
Yep.
The two players I got voted in the AL, it was Michael Saunders from the Blue Jays, who's, he's Canadian, plays for the Blue Jays. He's got a ton of Canadian votes. And then we had Brandon Belt from the Giants, who also has a rabid fan base. So those are the two extra players coming in. With the All-Star game starters. For the NL, I don't really see any players I'd want to stick in. Maybe Mark Trumbo from the Orioles, just because everyone knows him as a home run hitter, but he also is hitting for average this year. And as a Red Sox fan, I'd want Mookie Betts maybe out. I mean, that's saying a lot, but who do you think should be in instead?
You're talking about the Home Run Derby right now, or just
no, the All-Star game?
The All-Star
game starters. Yeah.
I mean, on the NL, I'd really wanted to see Brandon Crawford make it over Addison Russell, because I know it's all about the fan votes got Addison Russell, and I don't really agree that he should be there. And Brandon Crawford, he's having actually one of his better seasons that he's had in his career so far. Even Zach Cozart, I think, could have been a better choice. Addison Russell, he's batting low 200s. His on-base percentage is below average, way below average. And, even Trevor Story, like you said, more deserving than Addison Russell, which is, that's probably my only person that I was shocked to see actually in it. But I also think it has to do with a little bit of Theo Epstein with the Cubs and the Red Sox players all acquired by him at one point or another being part of the All-Star game. So I think that might have a little something to do with it too.
Yeah, you have a ton of Cubs and Red Sox players that not only did Epstein draft or he traded for. You got Rizzo, who was originally with the Red Sox, and now he's on the Cubs. You got Zobrist, who he traded for. No, they signed this offseason. They got Russell, who they got in that trade with the Oakland A's. You got Chris Bryant, who they drafted. And on the Red Sox side, you got Bogarts, Betts, Bradley, all.
Even Ortiz when he was with the Twins.
Yeah, he's gotten all the players either through draft or deals or free agency. And, I'm a big Theo Epstein proponent. I think he's probably maybe the best GM ever, just the way he's built teams and he's down. But this All-Star game will definitely be the Theo Epstein All-Star game because there's so many players representing in there. On Addison Russell, I totally agree with you. He's hitting about a little bit lower in average than Trevor Story, but Trevor Story's got the most home runs at the All-Star break of any rookie ever, and I think that stands for something. I'm a big home run guy because I think Trumbo should be starting over maybe Bradley or Betts, but they're both having ridiculous seasons, so it's tough to put in a player for someone who's having a great season. But yeah, on the AL side, I don't see a lot of players that should be starting where they shouldn't have been starting. In the NL, I agree with you on Crawford. I think he's having a great year at shortstop. I would have loved to see him at least in the reserves. He wasn't even up for the fan voting, which was pretty surprising. Barry Polanco, I think you thought about too on the Pirates.
Yeah, and especially now that McCutchen's not performing like he used to. Like Gregory Polanco's only standing out more and more every game, and he's only 24 years old too, which is crazy to see how well he's performing at this rate, and it's only going to get better. So yeah.
Well, you got Starling Marte because there's always a bunch of injuries that comes in right before the All-Star games. You got Starling Marte, who was in the extra player vote. He found his way in because Dexter Fowler went down injured. Aaron Sanchez from the Blue Jays is going to be in. I thought he's having a great season because he's had control issues his whole career, but he's really figured it out this year. And then Scherzer is another one I thought should have got in, but he's going to replace Strasburg. So, we're going to have big Bartolo Colon in there too. So
yeah, that should be exciting.
Hopefully they maybe give him that bat with the game on the line. I know the game means something, but I think everyone wants to see Colon bat.
Oh yeah, I do too.
Who do you like in this game though? Just looking at the rosters and the pitching, who do you think is going to win? Just if you had a gut thought.
It's definitely going to come down to pitching. That's for sure. And if you look at the rosters, the National League has more starting pitching than relievers. Unlike the American League, I think it's the National League has 8 stars compared to the American League that has about 5 or 6. And I mean, I think it's going to come down to pitching. And if that's the case, the National League has really been the strength with pitching. But the thing that you also have to look at is how the American League offensive categories is also better than the National League. So it's going to be a tough – I think it's really just a flip of the coin, to be honest. But I'd have to go National League.
See, I'll go American League, so we'll have a little wager there because I think the offense will carry them through. Like you said, the NL has Arrieta, who's quietly been struggling a little bit down the stretch here. Bumgarner's out of the game because he's injured. Ridiculous. Fernandez, Kershaw, Lester. Lester's been struggling a little bit, but they can throw. They probably have maybe 5 of the top 6 or 7 pitchers in baseball on their team they can throw out. I like the AL bullpen a little bit more. Mark Melancon obviously failed as a Red Sox, so I hate him. Jansen's pretty bad. They get great starting pitching, so he never has to really do much. AJ Ramos, Fernando Rodney's going to get in. On the AL side, you got out now Kelvin Herrera from the Royals, Will Harris from the Astros, Colomé, who's great down in Tampa Bay, underrated because he never really gets in, and Zach Britton, who for any AL East fans, like if the Orioles have a lead in the 9th, he usually shuts it down. So is this the first year? I'm not sure if is this the first year that they're going to have a DH in the game for a National League park because it's in San Diego this year? Is this the first year they're doing the DH thing? In the starting line. I
mean, from my recent memory, I don't think they've done it in a National League park with a DH. I think it might be the first time actually. Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy that the first year, if this is the first year they're doing it with David Ortiz as the DH. To be honest, last season.
To be honest, I think that's why they're doing it, because this All-Star game on top of, like we said, being Theo's All-Star game with all his acquired players that are in it. I think this is mostly David Ortiz. Like this game is for David Ortiz, and I think they're giving him that gesture. So so he doesn't have to play first base.
Yeah, I think they should wheel him out. Like, remember that All-Star game at Fenway where they wheeled Ted Williams out and all the players circled around? They should bring Ortiz out in a golf cart like that and just awesome. Have all the players shake his hand and whatnot, because that was a pretty cool moment. But
yeah, that'd be great.
He's his last All-Star game, so hopefully he gets a hit at Petco, which would be a great way to go out, because I think Ripken hit a home run in his last All-Star game too. So that'd be a great to go out.
And at first, if this was 2012, 2011, if this was Ortiz's last season playing at Petco, I'd be pretty nervous about the potential of him hitting a home run in his last All-Star game. But ever since they moved the wall in closer in 2013 and made it more hitter-friendly, I think that's going to be pretty clutch for David Ortiz to potentially getting a home run in his last All-Star game.
Yeah, for sure. And that's a good segue to the Home Run Derby, which we'll have Monday night. I kind of like the MLB All-Star game. They space out their events. We'll have the Home Run Derby Monday night. They went style, state tournament style, competition this year. A couple thoughts on it. I think they put Cano versus Stanton in the first round of the Derby, and I think that's crazy. I think those two are the guys that I would really pinpoint to win the thing, along with Mark Trumbo. And putting them in the first round is kind of disappointing. Cano won it when he had his dad pitching, which I think he could. He's one of those guys that can just have such an easy swing. He could kind of knock, 10 out of the ballpark quickly with that.
Well, the thing is, they matched up every player according to their home runs, and they did a seeding. So the first seed was Mark Trumbo with 28 home runs, and they actually matched him with Corey Seager, who's number 8 with only 17. So Robinson Cano and Stanton, Robinson Cano was 4 with 20, and Stanton was 5 with 19. So that's why they actually matched them up like that, which it makes it interesting, but it also kind of takes away from some of the players you want to see make the late rounds. Like, for instance, I really wanted to see Adam Duvall in the late round, but this is his home run Derby debut, so along with Will Myers, but those are two players that I really wanted to see make it deep, especially Will Myers being at his hometown. But it's going to be tough because the matchups make it real tough. I mean, Mark Trumbo, he's going to blow Corey Seager out of the water in the first round. And even Todd Frazier, I think he's going to have no problem facing Carlos Gomez, who has the 7th seed. So it makes it interesting, and it makes it a little bit more competitive during the season, I thought. I'm not sure if they told the players before the season this is how they were doing it, but it definitely puts a little on the line to, get the number 1 seed, number 2 seed if you're looking to play in the home run derby.
Yeah, so Stan being injured, for half of the first half definitely hurt him in the rankings. Like you mentioned, Todd Frazier won it last year in his hometown, so we'll see if Will Myers can win in San Diego. I think Petco, like you said, they moved in the wall in right field. I still think it's a right-handed hitter favorite park because if you go down the line near that, I don't even know what it is, a warehouse that has like 5 or 6 decks on it. I think that's literally the smallest part of the ballpark. So I think it might favor the righties. Who do you have winning? Who's your pick?
Well, my number 1 pick, I think, is going to be Trumbo. That's who I'm going to go with. But my black sheep that I'm going to go with is Duvall. I always think that the new guys, like, it could go either way. He can, because it's the 4-minute time limit that they're getting now, and they only get 1 45-second break in the early rounds, and then they get only 2 45-second breaks in the finals and I think the semis, which makes it a little difficult for the new guys who don't maybe know how to handle themselves and save their energy, because that's what it's going to come down to, is all about endurance. So it could go either way. He could not know how to remain calm and not use all his energy, or he could end up playing well.
Yeah, I have Trumbo as well. Duvall's quietly having a great season with the Reds. Yeah. He has one of those swings that he hits the ball out of the ballpark pretty easily. If I had to go for a second guy, I think if Cano can get back past Stan in the first round, I think he can, move on. He has such an easy swing. It doesn't take a lot of endurance, like you said.
Yep.
Like Seager, I feel like he swings wicked hard, and he's not one of the bigger guys. You also have Cargo, who has a sweet swing. If he gets hot, he doesn't have a ton of experience in the home run derby, though, which might hurt him, like you mentioned, with Duvall. So it'll be interesting to see. Like you said, if you hit a ball over 120 feet, you get another 40 seconds onto your.
I think it was 420 feet. I believe that you get 30 seconds bump in your time limit.
So they'll have to track the balls pretty quickly, and the guys that'll hit them longer will get more time. Which
that's what
Trumbo hits them long and a bunch of them, so I think he should be the favorite just going into it.
It was the home run tracker favorites were Trumbo and Stanton. In terms of if they hit it over that, I mean they could be seeing. I think they have to hit 2 in a row over 420 feet to get 30 seconds. I mean, and those are 2 players, Stanton and Trumbo, that we see them do it all season long. I mean, when they're getting BP fastballs, it's only going to go further too. So,
yeah, they're 2 guys that it's weird to see them not hit a home run that goes that far once they connect. So, those are the 2 guys that you should look for to raise your eyebrows with the way they hit the ball out of the ballpark, because they can hit it long and far. Moving on from the All-Star game, we can talk some Red Sox real quickly. I was at the game yesterday, and Rick Porcello put in a good performance. It's been few and far between with the Red Sox starting pitching, though. They got Sean O'Sullivan coming up here pitching. They tried Clay Buchholz.
Well, Sean O'Sullivan's now finding himself on the DL, too.
Oh, he's on the DL?
Yep, 15-day, I believe.
All right, so, Red Sox definitely need some starting pitching. I know they've been looking at Rich Hill, who, if they get Rich Hill, they had him in camp. They could have extended him. I know he wanted a guarantee of being a starter, but I think the Red Sox, it was worth it knowing how bad the rotation was last year. And they're looking at Jeremy Hellickson from the Phillies, who obviously pitched in the division with the Rays. Where do you think the Red Sox biggest weakness is, and how do you think they should kind of through trade or something else, how do you think they should get the players they need?
So my opinion is right now, I know our starting rotation is weak, but I'm still on the David Price fan base. Like, I know he's going to come back and he's going to find his groove. I mean, we saw him find his groove for 8 games in June when he didn't give up more than 3 runs in 8 consecutive starts. So, I mean, it's there. And to be honest, I know everyone's complaining, saying, "Oh, 3 earned runs is not what we're paying him for. We're paying him for 1 earned run." But at this point, with our offense, if we give up 3 runs, we're winning majority of the games, and it shows. And so, what I actually think though is our biggest weakness right now that we should focus on is our bullpen. I know we just got Brad Ziegler from the Diamondbacks, but with the Kimbrel injury now, we're back. We solved an issue, and now we're back to the same issue because we have a 41-year-old Koji Uehara who needs to have a lessened workload, and you have Taz, who has been known to struggle with with a lot of work. So I think what we have to do is go back after another reliever that we don't have to give up too much. I was thinking more of like a Fernando Abad from the Twins. I mean, they're 22 games back out. Like they're sellers, and if we give them a couple low end prospects, we could definitely get something for them, and hopefully Fernando Abad. So I think if we strengthen our bullpen and get a middle of the road starter, like that would be pretty good for down the road, especially looking towards next year. If we strengthen our bullpen, I mean, right now for next year, hopefully Kimbrel comes back. I mean, I know they say 3 to 6 weeks, but sometimes 3 to 6 weeks ends up being the rest of the season. But looking forward to next year, if we have Kimbrel, then Carson Smith back, and then Ziegler, and then one more guy that we get before the trade deadline, I mean, we set up our bullpen for next season. And then if we have a middle of the road back end 4 or 5 guy for this year, I mean, that's all we need to have success and go deep into playoffs for this year.
Yeah, I think it speaks to Dave Dombrowski. He thinks that our rotation's fine. Like if Price pitches as a 1, Porcello as a 2, I think he thinks we're good. Maybe get one more starter, but the fact that he's going out and getting Brad Ziegler, who's been underrated, one of the better closers, solid reliever in baseball, shows how much how much Dombrowski thinks the bullpen needs. And yesterday Uehara closing, I was still nervous up 4-1 because he's been giving up a lot of home runs lately. They definitely need to solidify that. So. Would you rather have Clozo, Ziegler, or Uehara coming with Kimbrel out now? Oh,
Ziegler. But the issue is, I like Koji, and I want him to close like he did in 2013. The old Koji that we all know. But it's tough with his age. Like pitching consecutive days, it's not like we see him giving up these home runs and his splitters and doing the same thing. And I mean, when his splitter is off, that's all he has. So when his splitter is off, it's dangerous. So I like the idea of getting another guy for the pen to lessen Koji's workload.
The only thing about Ziegler is he's an old guy too. He's almost 37, I think. So
yeah,
I'm not sure how many more years he has in him. But if Koji's any showing of how an old guy can be in the bullpen, I think Ziegler's got a couple good years left. The Red Sox also made trades for Aaron Hill, who's been starting past couple games with Hanley and Shaw. Splitting time. Hill, I like Hill. I've always liked him as a player. He hits for average. He puts the bat on the ball. He plays a solid defense. He had a couple hits in yesterday's game. He had a couple big hits the night before that won them the game, actually. So I think he'll be a great addition. And I know they gave up some prospects that people were kind of surprised they had to give up for Aaron Hill. They also got Michael Martinez from the Indians for cash, so they added some depth in that way. So that shows you that Dombrowski realizes our bench is kind of lacking. We don't have to send up the Marco Hernandezes of the world when in the 9th inning when we need a hit. And that Rusney Castillo signing is looking worse and worse, that he can't even play on the bench of this team. So making trades for a little depth out in the field too.
Well, also the Aaron Hill addition kind of it raised a few eyebrows for me. I mean, I know Travis Shaw got a little banged up the other day, but he played first base yesterday. I mean, he seems healthy, but it definitely raised a little eyebrows because, I mean, at the time I didn't think third base was a real weakness that we needed to add depth behind. But it also kind of raises a little bit of an eyebrow because, I mean, now that we could move Shaw to first base to some games and give Hanley a rest, I mean, does that open up the doors that we could potentially be trading Hanley Ramirez to get a big-name pitcher, knowing that now we have someone to play third base that is reliable and established?
Yeah. I mean, Dombrowski's been known to make those big trades at the deadline. He traded Cespedes and he got David Price last year when he was on the Tigers. So, he won't be afraid to make a move, even if it's a move to for another guy. So maybe Aaron Hill shows you that they're shopping Hanley Ramirez to try to get, a middle of the road starter, or maybe even better, put him with a prospect and see. But the Red Sox still sit 2 games out of first place of the Orioles, who've been playing really well lately. Their pitching is always a fallacy, I think. The Orioles, it will always bite them in the butt. But the Blue Jays are coming on strong as well. They've sort of figured out their pitching, and their lineup's always one of the hardest to get through. And the Red Sox struggle against the Blue Jays. So I'm just curious what you think how the Red Sox will turn out by the end of the season. Do you think they'll win the division, or do you think they'll be a wild card team?
I think they're gonna be a wild card team, to be honest. It depends if our pitching steps up with Price. If Price, it's all about Price, in my opinion, because our offense is only going to be there so many times to save you, and we saw that with a 22-2 loss. We only scored 2 runs. I mean, are we going to be giving up double-digit leads? We need some days to toss a shutout or 1-run, 2-hit game. But if we don't have that ace that Price is known to be, I mean, I think that at that point it's going to be a wild card team. That also brings up a very interesting question: is if we're a wild card team, who do you start? Who do you go to? Do you go to Porcello or Wright? I mean, I'd like to think that I'd like to go Wright, just because, I mean, he's had only a couple games where he blew up. But, I mean, again, it's the knuckleball. And are we going to actually base our wild card game starter if it's raining or not? It's tough. So I think I'd go Porcello. But, I mean, that just speaks a lot that we're having some of our back-end guys looking to start a 1-game playoff.
Yeah, I mean, my friends call me a wicked pessimistic fan. I think I listen to Felger Maz too much, but the Red Sox have had a really good season. We're all applauding them. They have so many all-star starters. They have so many good young players coming through the pipeline. As it sits right now, we're 2 games out of first. Yep. And the thing about the AL is, the wild card team. There's a lot of good wild card teams that the Red Sox are going to have to compete with. Let's say the Orioles win. Let's say if Texas, Cleveland, and the Orioles win their divisions, which I don't know if the Orioles will, but I think the other 2 will. Red Sox are going to have to compete with the Blue Jays, the Tigers, the White Sox, the Royals, the Astros, and maybe if the Mariners go on a run. So unlike the NL, where there's probably 8 teams that are even worth it and everyone else stinks, the AL has 10 to 12 teams that could come up if they go on a good playing run and get that second or first wild card spot. So the Red Sox are definitely going to have to make a couple moves to kind of put them over the top, and they're going to have to I think they're going to have to give up a certain amount of maybe some prospects they don't want to. I know they want to keep Benintendi and Moncada because they've both been killing it, but if the Marlins start going downhill and they want to offer Jose Fernandez, I would think about trading one of those 2 guys along with maybe Hanley Ramirez in a package for them, because you can control Fernandez for a couple of years at such low money, and that would give you your ace of the future. With David Price, I know we gave him a big deal, but his age is starting to be a factor. And I don't want to say we're starting to see it from Price, but his performances the past couple outings have left something to be desired on that front.
Well, I'm actually a big anti-Fernandez guy, not because I mean, I would love to have him on our team, but the fact that he's a Boris player really scares me. And like you said, he only has a couple years on his contract in Miami. So if he did come over to the Sox, and let's say we give up a Benintendi, I mean, I'll dish away Hanley. I don't mind Hanley, but if it's one of our young prospects, and let's say they blossom, and then Stan, I mean, he goes on free agency, and being a Boris player, he always has his players test the market. So I mean, would we give up our future at that point for just 2 years? Or, I mean, we could potentially try to keep Benintendi and players like Moncada too, and even Espinosa or Devers, and then in 2 years pay up for him instead of trying to give up our future, when we could also be getting another starter that we could have for a longer period of time.
Yeah, that's true about Fernandez with Boris, because Boris, as we saw with Jacoby Ellsbury, he doesn't have great history with the Red Sox and their players, keeping their players. He always takes them to free agency. So he'll definitely take the highest bidder from Fernandez, whether that's the Red Sox or, the Yankees are looking for starting pitching at this point. So you're going to have to battle 2 or 3 teams. I would just like to get Fernandez in-house, and then you can kind of, negotiate a contract with him at that point, give him a big extension. I know Boris usually takes him to free agency, but the Red Sox have not been scared of throwing money around the past couple of seasons, as we've seen. So it will be a really interesting deadline. I know you have to go, so we'll cut this one short. Thanks, Nate, for joining me on the Ephus episode 7.
It's a pleasure.
All right. Have a good day, man.
You too. Peace.